So I am going on a date, except not with a living human being. No, no, no. No human beings were harmed in the making of this video. I'm actually going on a blind date with a book. 2 books, actually. This is the best threesome I'll ever have. Actually, since we are in Paris, we should call it a ménage à trois. I learned that from Katy Perry, thank you. So, here's the backstory. When I was living back in London, I went to Hampstead and I saw this bookstore called House of Books. Now, outside the store, they had these books which were wrapped up. You couldn't see what they were, you couldn't judge them by their covers, all you got was a brief description of the book's main themes. So I had a look through them and there were a few books I could tell that I definitely already read based on the descriptions that it gave, but I swiped right for these 2 books. It's safe to say I'm fully booked this Valentine's Day, but not in a cool way. So, the first one says, War is Hell, Journalist, Love, Poignant, and Terse Classic. It's not the Tinder bio I would go for, but it'll do. So, my guess is that this was written after the First World War. It could actually be a book written by Evelyn Waugh, because he was a journalist, I'm pretty sure. Damn, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Pack it up, Shakespeare. But then again, he wrote mostly satire and this is love and poignant, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't put money on that bet. So, only one way to find out. Getting you undressed on the first date. This is going well. Oh! Ernest Hemingway! So weirdly, Ernest Hemingway was kind of the reason that I ended up moving to Paris. How crazy. In 1918, Ernest Hemingway went to war. He volunteered for the ambulance service in Italy, was wounded and twice decorated. Out of his experience came A Farewell to Arms. Hemingway's description of war is unforgettable. He recreates the fear, the comradeship, the courage of his young American volunteers, and the men and women he meets in Italy with total conviction. But A Farewell to Arms is not only a novel of war, in it, Hemingway has also created a love story of immense drama and uncompromising passion. Damn, okay. That's very cool. Now, on to the next one. This book I chose because the description was so different to anything I would normally pick up, and variety is the spice of life, my friends. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, you know? This says, hallucinations, Scotland and South Africa, risque, and also blackest humour and rather disturbing. Humorous and disturbing is kind of how I would describe my love life, so what a coincidence. Baby, I'm not even here. I'm a hallucination. Oh, I didn't make any predictions. I actually think this might be a book by Irvine Welsh. I mean, he's probably one of the most well-known Scottish novelists, but he's also known for writing things that are rather disturbing and have very dark humour, like Trainspotting. So, let's have a look. Aha. No way. Irvine Welsh. I have a very specific skill set. But sometimes I do impress myself. Marabou Stalk Nightmares. Roy Strang is engaged in a strange quest in a surrealist South Africa. His mission is to eradicate an evil predator scavenger bird, the Marabou Stork, before it drives away the peace-loving flamingo from the picturesque Lake Torto. Okay, but behind this world lies another. The world of Roy's bizarre family, the Scottish housing system in which he grew up, his mundane job, a disastrous emigration to Africa, and his youthful life of brutality with a gang of soccer casuals. As one world crashes into the other, this potentially charming story of goodwill mutates into a filthy tale of violence, abuse, and redemption. You got me there. You got me in the second half. So let's flamingo and read these books. I hated that joke as I made it. But quickly, before we dive into that, brand partners help me to keep this channel going, so thank you so much to Bright Cellars for sponsoring today's video. Bright Cellars is a monthly wine subscription, so I'll drink to that. And it's really, really cool because it uses a 7-question quiz to match you with wines that they think you'll love based on your preferences. So you won't be going in blind like I am with these books. The algorithm goes off, does its thing, and basically it's a really risk-free way of discovering wines that you're guaranteed to really enjoy. I'm personally very much enjoying this Malbec, which I'm having alongside my roast dinner tonight, and it's delicious. Every month you get a shipment of unique and personalised wines straight to your doorstep, and the packaging is super sustainable as well. And then of course you can share those wines with your friends, your family, and they'll think you're very cool and sophisticated, I think. And Valentine's Day is coming up. This would be the perfect gift. So why not? Here all week, guys. I'm here all week. And so, to discover more wine that you'll love, click the link down below. And exclusively for you guys, you can get 50% off your first box of 6 bottles. I think that works out as $45 for 6 bottles of gorgeous wine. So it's a good deal. A massive shout out to Bright Cellars for collaborating with me on this video. And on to the date.
Guess it's easier for you to walk around and say I did it. The situation's bleak and neither of us wanna be the one to end it. Does your mom think a little bit less of me now? I let you down, can't make a sound. We used to have something so bittersweet, and now it's bitter, so bitter.
Guys, I thought the suit thing was funny, but Now I'm in public, I just feel like a tit. But I've come to my favourite place to read in Paris. This is Luxembourg Gardens, and it is beautiful.
There's a bad taste running through your mouth when you say my name, and it used to be a common thing that you'd say. Now it's never gonna sound the same.
Un café crème, s'il vous plaît. Merci. Et le parma? Look at that.
I try to pick up the broken pieces and cover both my hands in, but I try to fix us without me leaving, but somehow I just made it worse. Oh, here we go, I'm in the deep end, trying to keep us both afloat. Oh, here we go, I'm in the deep end, and I know I gotta let you go.
Okay, guys, I've been reading this book that is written in like Scottish colloquial dialect all day, to the point where my brain is now thinking thoughts with a Scottish accent. Irvine Welsh basically writes out words in the way that they would be pronounced by Scottish people. In fact, it's ironic that his surname is Welsh, because this man is more Scottish than a set of bagpipes stuffed with haggis being played by the Loch Ness Monster. Fun story for you, actually. I one time broke into the Loch Ness Monster Museum. This is a tangent, but I was on a road trip around Scotland with my friends a few years ago, and I was desperate for a wee. We were on our way to Inverness, where we stayed at a taxidermist's house. That whole trip honestly feels like a fever dream. Anyway, the 20-year-old man-child in the back, me, needs the toilet, so we stop outside the Loch Ness Monster Museum. I go inside, there's no one there. No visitors, no one at reception, and so, desperate times, desperate measures, I just walked in and went to find the loo, because apparently I have the bladder of an OAP. I stroll out, and the security guard is standing there like, what the hell, dude? And I was escorted out of the Loch Ness Monster Museum. The thing is, it always starts with petty crimes, doesn't it? It's a slippery slope from there. But I heard some people like a bad boy, so hit me up. Anyway, I have finished the first book. And the reality of this video is that I bought these books in August 2021. It is no longer August. It's also no longer 2021. They've just been sitting wrapped up in my flat. And I feel like it's because I just couldn't shake the feeling that these books obviously weren't selling very well, and so they had to be literally wrapped up and people had to be tricked into buying them. With a quirky, like, blind date with a book idea. And I didn't want to be let down on my book blind date, you know? I'd already been through one breakup in 2021. At that point, I had the emotional stability of a Jenga tower. One wrong move, breakdown. So that's why it's taken me so long. And to be honest, I never ever would have picked up this book of my own accord. However, I'm kind of in awe after finishing it, because this was just unlike anything I have ever read. Like, let me show you how some of the pages are formatted. So you've got different font sizes, you've got weird line breaks, you've got text that sort of weirdly overlaps, and that style is very in line with the general surrealism of the book. It does not follow rules in theme, in style, in formatting. So basically we have the central protagonist, who is the narrator of the book, and he is in a coma. And essentially he is having these hallucinations about trying to capture a marabou stork. But this keeps being interrupted by memories of his childhood growing up in Scotland and South Africa, and then later his adult life where he was a kind of football hooligan thug gang member. It's just this huge stream of consciousness, and this voice is so raw and authentic and believable as a character. Like, his thoughts are often horrible and vile and depraved, and I hate this man so much. But as a character, it really does feel like you've just chopped open his brain and inserted yourself into it. So I will warn you, this book is not for the faint-hearted at all. This character exhibits so much racist, homophobic, misogynistic language and behavior, and he is just a menace to society, like the worst person ever. He's an awful bloke, and I think if you were to write a trigger warnings list for this book, it would be longer than this. The description that they gave this book actually was really accurate, because it is this really, really, really dark humor, because he's just so blunt and to the point, and it's shocking and grotesque, but there's kind of a deeper meaning at the end. So mild spoilers, and also I'm going to put some trigger warnings on the screen and a time you can skip to if you want to avoid that. But this man, who had an incredibly troubled childhood, basically ends up joining a gang, and this gang horrifically assault a woman. They're taken to court and completely get away with it. And he experiences so much guilt as a result of this event that happened that he makes an unsuccessful attempt on his own life and ends up in a coma. And that's where we sort of join him. So these scenes are so horrific. And I just don't think that a book like this should ever be put in a blind date with a book format, because you need to know some of these things, the themes, you know, going into reading this. You need to know what you're letting yourself in for. So this is not the way I think you should encounter this book, because this took me by surprise. But you're probably wondering, how on earth does the marabou stork come into this? Well, this hallucination of chasing the marabou stork is basically a metaphor for the way that he is trying to track down and destroy the evil in his life and the demons that he has inside him. The duty that he feels to hunt down this marabou stork is the guilt that he feels. No spoilers here, but the ending of this book shocked me to my very core. I was sitting in a coffee shop with my jaw just like hanging open in shock. Because what Irvine Welsh has actually created is a really powerful statement against sexual violence. And it focuses on the Zero Tolerance campaign, which was the first mass media campaign to target male violence towards women and children. So you can see on this page here that the text is formatted in a big Z, and it's brutal and shocking, but so impactful. And Irvine Welsh just uses colloquial language in his storytelling like no one else. This book was not what I expected from this video. This was not what I expected from cheery little blind date with a book idea, and I'm speechless, truly. So I'm also a fair way through the next book, which was A Farewell to Arms. But I think that I'm gonna finish it off in bed tonight. Wow, first date's going really well, huh? But right now I'm shattered and I don't think I am capable of articulating any more coherent thoughts. So let's chat tomorrow.
I kinda thought we'd make it out alive. We were ride or die, now we're at the funeral. I kinda thought we'd make it out alive. We were ride or die, now we're at the funeral.
Hello, so it is the morning after and I'm done with this book. Now the thing about Ernest Hemingway is that he has a very, very specific style of writing. Very stoic. Back in the day, I think he was known as a very like man's man kind of writer. And actually, the kind of general theme of both the books that I've read in the last 24 hours has been misogynistic characters. So what is the book Blind Date's agenda? I'd like to know. A Farewell to Arms is kind of a meditation on the First World War, where the character is an American, but he's working as an ambulance driver for the Italian army. And he is just so weary and demoralized and desensitized to trauma and struggle. And as a result, everything in this book is discussed so casually and nonchalantly, but obviously deliberately. The man seriously injures his leg and treats it like a paper cut. I don't know, maybe I just live for the drama, but it would have been a much bigger deal to me, I think. But then again, I've never been to war, so I don't have a leg to stand on. Inappropriate, not okay. He falls in love with a nurse, and their dialogue is one of the most special parts of this book. My life used to be full of everything, I said. Now if you aren't with me, I haven't a thing in the world. Isn't that lovely? I think if someone said that to me, I'd get down on one knee and propose on the spot. And there's lots of other things like that. Whether they talk like real people is questionable, but then again, this was written like nearly 100 years ago. But they'll be like, darling, do you love me? Darling, there's nothing I love more in the world than you. And then, again, we have an absolutely harrowing ending. These writers will not let me know peace. And I did nearly shed a little tear. Only nearly though, because I'm hard as nails. As if there hasn't already been enough toxic masculinity in this video already, jeez. And equally, I will say, there are parts of this book that are terribly written, like the same word being repeated over and over and over again. For example, take a shot every time you hear the word road in this paragraph. You'll be hammered. I came up onto a road. Ahead I saw some troops coming down the road. I limped along the side of the road and they passed me and paid no attention to me. They were a machine gun detachment going up toward the river. I went on down the road. How long is this damn road? However, where there's a Hemingway, there's a Hemingway. And I wonder whether the point of that is to show the weariness of the character in these moments, because it does sort of build up a really fascinating narrative voice. Like, things aren't elaborate and they're not elevated and they're not shrouded in metaphors and similes and beautiful descriptions. Like, war is brutal and it's ugly and it's horrible, and we see it really in the cold light of day in this book. And so it's not only a farewell to arms, it's also a farewell to this video, because I've officially finished my blind date with these two books. It's honest work, but someone's got to do it. This was a really interesting experience for me to read books that I didn't necessarily choose, and I only picked them based on a very brief description. But I was shocked by some of the content in these books, because did not see that coming. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. All the best, stay in touch, subscribe if you're new, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.